Alright guys, it's finally time to sit and talk about another new show from the fall 2023 anime season today. And today, I want to talk to you guys about Undead Unluck. And right off the bat, right off rip, my honest, true opinions on the series. I've been really liking it. I really like Undead Unluck. But I've seen no one talk about it. What the hell is up with that? That's crazy to me. I genuinely think, out of all the shows I've seen this season so far, and I'll tell you guys now, a little spoiler, I have seen 10 different series already from this season. I definitely think it's one of the best. I really do. I think this is one of the best shows this season. I do not think it's overhyped. Like you see some people trying to say, I don't agree at all. I really like this show. I remember over a year ago when this show was announced for the first time and we saw our first key visual of it, and some people were going absolutely crazy for it, and then some people were trying to downplay it. And I didn't know which side of the fence I'd fall on when the show actually came out. But now that it's here, I can definitively say I think it is great. I'm loving it. My one word to describe this show so far, because as of this episode, as of this recording, I should say, there's only 3 episodes out. So the one word to describe this show, endearing. It is so endearing. The second our first episode begins, I can already get a good feel for the tone of this series. It is heavy right off the bat. It hits you straight with the emotions, man. And I'm sitting here, I remember watching it thinking, God damn, this is a little heavy-handed immediately. But it introduces us to one of our main characters of the show, Fuko, who unquestionably is the heart and soul of this series. Just off the 3 episodes that are out now that I've seen, she is undoubtedly the heart and soul of Undead Unluck. If our boy Andy is the body, Fuko is the heart. Immediately as we get introduced to her, as we learn that she just finished her favorite manga series, we immediately learn that she wants to kill herself. A very touchy subject. And the reason for this is pretty damn sad. Fuko is a sad character. As we learn that when she was younger, 10 years prior to the beginning of this series, we saw a tragic accident befall her family and a lot of other people on this plane, as we see spontaneous combustion on the runway as their plane explodes, killing everyone right in front of her eyes. As we learn that this was supposedly caused by her ability that's called an unluck. And with Fuko, it's an especially sad one. Because apparently, every time someone touches her, makes direct contact with her skin, a tragedy will befall them and they will die. And immediately before we continue, I have a little theory here. Maybe I'm reaching a little bit, I don't know, but hear me out. In the first scene, we're introduced to Fuko and we see the plane blow up. It's obviously tragic and probably breaks her heart, as we see throughout our series that it did. My theory is that was not her ability that blew up the plane. I don't think it was. I think that was something else that interfered. As I said, as of this recording, we only have 3 episodes out, so I don't know. I haven't read the manga. I'm not a manga reader. But that just feels like the most common thing to me. That would not be her. And that was someone else that interfered in that. I want to say that's the case, but I don't know. Maybe I'm reaching here. But hey, I think that is. Regardless, it has scarred her throughout her life to where she has become a shut-in for the past 10 years. And as I said, when we first get introduced to her, she wants to kill herself. And it's here she meets Undead. As immediately in their very first encounter is someone who quite literally rocks Fuko's world. She's never met a person like him. Because immediately, right off the bat, she's extremely standoffish with him, which you would understand with her ability that she would push people away for their own sake. But our boy Andy just comes straight up to her, takes the knife in his chest, and says, "Oh, look, I can touch you perfectly fine. Nothing's gonna happen to me." And then he gets hit by a train. Which was hilarious, by the way. I found that hilarious. It probably shouldn't have been funny, but it was pretty freaking funny. And obviously she's devastated by this. As our boy Undead comes back up as a head, grinning like a fool, and regrows his whole body. Quite literally something she's never seen in her whole life. And just immediately is a positive figure in her life. Now, I will say, I'm very surprised people have not tried to cancel this series yet. With all the other dumb stuff that people get offended about online, I am shocked that they haven't tried to do anything with this show. Because I will say, it's very sexual. But one thing I like about this series is that it's just so unabashedly sexual. I like that a lot. And it's not like over the top ridiculous. It's like to a moderate degree. But I just like how they just lean into it. They're not afraid. Our boy Andy's like, yeah, I'm gonna touch you. And I kind of like that. It's refreshing in a way. Now I suppose let's talk about our boy Andy, who is given that name by Fuko, actually, from a very bad joke. Let me say that right now. That goes past a dad joke. That was bad when she says, "Oh, I'll call you Andy because you're undead." And I cringed so hard at that. But it's kind of funny at the same time, so. Now, Andy, as you would have guessed, cannot die. He is an undead. From the information we have available from our first 3 episodes, it seems that his body will naturally regenerate itself after, I believe, instantaneously actually, in that his severed body parts will actually go away after 30 seconds of being cut off from his body. And I believe how he's been around for 200 years, by the way, is his cells probably can't die out either, so he just naturally stays young. That's what I'm assuming. We have no confirmation of that, but that's what I'm assuming it is. Now, Andy himself, I could have done a whole video on just talking about this character alone, because he is really interesting. As I said, he's undead, and he's lived for, I believe they said, 200 plus years. And what an interesting character he really is, honestly. He's clearly done so much in his time. I find it so funny when they're just doing something and Andy's like, "Yeah, we'll take my private yacht and my jet that I have, and I'll call up my war buddies from my days being a mercenary and being in the war and all that." I'm like, bro, what have you done? What have you done? But besides all that, like I said, Andy's a very interesting character. Because the reason he's drawn to Fuko in the first place is that he wants to die. As someone who's been alive for so many years, his desire is to die in the most flashy way possible, which I kind of love that concept. And immediately upon learning Fuka's ability, he immediately tries different ways to try to kill himself. It's quite funny, actually. And there's clearly much deeper meanings behind this, too. It's not as surface level as you might think, as we see throughout these couple episodes that Andy's been through a lot. He's been captured, experimented on, he's seen a lot of things. And there's clearly stuff we're going to get into later in our show, because Andy's been through it. Now I suppose let's get into the world itself and the plot of our series. Because in our first episode, we see that Andy and Fuko are attacked by people that are from an organization called the Union, the Anti-Unidentified Phenomena Control Organization. As we see that the Union's job is to handle creatures called UMAs and people called negators who pose a threat to society. Now, UMAs, for instance, we don't know much about as of episode 3 being out. We haven't gotten into that very much. But negators are a different subject. Now, negators are essentially people that can negate one aspect of the world through their abilities. We'll take Andy, for example. His ability is undead. He negates death on himself, meaning he cannot die. And every negator has one aspect of the world that they can negate with their ability. It's honestly a very interesting power system that this series seems to have. Now, in our second episode of the anime, we see Fuko and Andy are attacked by 2 other negators in the show. But these 2 are a little different, as they're a part of an organization within the Union called the Round Table, which is a group of 10 negators that the country has picked out to help deal with other negators and the UMAs. They're essentially like the boss of the Union. And as you guessed, they're a group of 10 negators who are exempt from getting hunted down on the premise that they help hunt down other negators and UMAs. As we see that happening to Fuko and Andy. And it's here during this encounter with these 2, they meet an interesting character, I think he's interesting at least, called Shen. Who, despite how strong Andy is, him and Fuko cannot defeat him. They kill the other member, but they can't defeat Shen. And he says something very interesting in their encounter, seeing how strong the bond is between Andy and Fuko. As he tells them that the only way for you 2 not to be hunted down forever until you're eliminated is to become members of the 10 itself. And he tells them flat out, which I kind of loved, kill 2 members from the 10 and you can take their spot. Now, in our second episode, they kill one of them right then and there. So one spot's already open. But we still have one more we need to get. And as we go into episode 3, that's the plot of our episode. They literally go to Russia. Andy's shouting about vodka the whole time. To go kill another member so that they can both be on the members of the 10 and that they won't be hunted forever. I kind of really like that plot, actually. It's silly, but I really like it. Like, hey man, world's a tough place. You gotta die so we can live. And as of our third episode being out and aired, they haven't done that yet. So we're still in the middle of that. We're technically still in the intro of our series, is what it feels like. But I just really like this series. I think the powers are interesting. And the world is actually, it's starting to unfold before our eyes. And it seems really interesting. I think I understand the hype behind this series now. It feels kind of different and unique. Andy and Fuko's relationship feels different than a lot of other stuff you see in, like, modern series. Again, I like how unabashedly kind of sexual it is. From how Andy is and how Fuko is. I think it's kind of funny, actually. More than I'm offended by it or anything like that. I really like this show, and I like the characters. And I just kind of wanted to sit and talk to you guys about it today, because I really think it's one of the stars of this season. So, I would love to hear your guys' opinion on Undead Unluck down in the comments, because so far, I've been really loving it. So let me know what you think. But until next time, guys, I hope you all have a great day, week, month, and year. And until then, deuces, have a blessed day, and I'll see you guys next time. Deuces.